Shut up and sit down.
Hello everyone and welcome to Barber Motorsports Park and welcome to the Reddit iRacing League 2018 season finale. It's a bit of a championship on the line between Thomas Ellison and Giovanni Romano, and we're in qualifying right now, and that will decide our starting grid for this race 9 of season 23 of the Reddit iRacing League in these Skip Barber cars from Barber Motorsports Park, as I said. I'm David Haynes, and joining me for our coverage will be Aaron Thacker. Aaron, hello.
David, good evening, sir. It is an absolute honor to be here for the season finale of the RiL race. Here at Barber Motorsports Park, we have got ourselves a battle for the championship on our hands, David, and I am watching some qualifying laps, looking to see what we can expect out of these guys today.
Yep, so a slightly different qualifying format than what we typically get with the lone qualifying. We've got 15 minutes, everyone all out on track. It means that the draft can play an effect. It means that someone else can potentially book your lap. But as it stands right now, Evan Merrill with a 1 minute 37.88. It's on the top of the timing sheets, followed by John Patrick. But as I'm talking, a time comes in from Alex Klenk, puts him third, ahead of Justin Hall, who's in fourth, and Nate Franklin in fifth. And I think we might pick a car to ride on board with at some point, Aaron. Anyone you've got an eye on?
Well, David, I'm obviously keeping a very close eye on the two that are keeping a bid for a championship. I'm currently on a lap with Giovanni Romano. He is coming towards the end of his lap here, and he has a bit of traffic in front of him, but he's looking for some draft opportunities to get a good spot, and both of our championship leaders have not turned a clean lap yet, David.
Yeah, exactly. So just as he comes to the line, we'll see if this lap counts for Giovanni Romano, the purple helmet in the purple car, and our points leader on, I believe, 295 points. Yes, I remember that correctly. Leads Tom Ellison by 4 points, who has 291. So we're looking to see who of those two can finish ahead on track. As far as qualifying goes, though, that's a very good lap from Giovanni Romano, 137.522. I think that's second place.
That is correct, and that is just 4/10 behind P1 Evan Merrill. Evan Merrill with a 137.1 in this very early session of the qualifying. We got about 7 minutes left in qualifying here. I think plenty of opportunity for these guys to find 2 or 3 more tenths on track, and if you get a good draft, maybe even a second.
Yeah, certainly. I heard that the way you have to use the throttle and the brakes to make this car turn is very difficult around this circuit. There's a lot of undulation change, there's some blind apexes, and as I watch Tom Ellison, who's on an outlap right now, he's approaching this section of corners up here where it is a blind entry, it is a descending right, left, right, and I'm sure it's a corner that's very difficult to carry exactly the right amount of speed through in these cars.
Yeah, I'm very interested in watching this lap. Tom is by himself. Unlike Giovanni on that previous lap, I think he got a little bit of help just before the start-finish line. Tom is by himself. And right now, David, he is almost, he's just a hair under a second slower than Giovanni. So Tom, he's by himself, but he's got some time to make up to make sure he's side-by-side with his potential championship challenger.
Yeah, exactly. We just saw another lap time come in from John Patrick, a 137.7, puts him up into third place. I think we'll ride on board with Tom Ellison as he's about to start his flying lap. And Tom Ellison comes out of the final corner across the start-finish line. And it was not good for an improvement. He was just about 1/100th of a second away from his previous best time. So a 1:38.2 seems about where Tom Ellison's pace is for qualifying right now. Obviously, he'll keep going. This car, the tyres don't really go off on a car like this, so you can just keep lapping and keep lapping. But he's got 6th place on the grid compared to his rival's 2nd place. And Evan Merrill still leading the way. Nate Franklin 3rd, John Patrick 4th, Alex Clank 5th. Slightly smaller grid for this one, with some of the championship positions wrapped up, and this being a paid circuit. I love the way they throw the car into that turn 7A, turn 7B complex, turn 8 as well there. Riding lots of curb, really blind corner, and then we've got some of these fast sweeping chicanes, Aaron.
Yeah, there really is. This is a really fun track, but David, as you just described right there, flow is so important. And with the Skip Barber, with a momentum car, not a lot of horsepower, extremely important. This car is this car and this track is tons of fun. But David, I'd also like to talk about the very romantic sunset we're observing here at Barber Motorsports Park this evening.
I think it's actually a sunrise, but that can be romantic if that's the thing you're into. I'm seeing it as being 7 a.m. on the 15th of May 2018 right now. So the sun getting a little higher in the sky might increase track temperatures a little bit. Oh, as Tom Ellison goes for a spin around into the wall. He was pushing very, very hard to try and set a lap that would move him up the grid. He might not get much of a chance to do that now. But yeah, maybe the sun getting higher in the grid, higher in the sky, to what you said, Aaron. Maybe heating up the track, maybe taking away some of the opportunity to improve.
And I'm really glad that we captured that moment there, because that turn 1, there is no runoff there. There is a runoff, and it's grass. And just like we just observed Tom Ellison doing, you drop a tire on that corner where all the load is on the right side, there really is no opportunity to save the car. So a very unforgiving first corner at this track.
Yeah, they've definitely used some of the Alabama elevation out there. The first corner really drops away, and then you sort of pick it up through that carousel section through turn 2, and especially around the back half of the track, there's undulations and there's corners that drop away, corners that pick up, and it really plays with the balance of the car, and you've got to have a good understanding of that if you're going to go quickly.
David, we've got just about a minute left. I'm doing a quick run down the grid, and we look to be about the same where you were. Thomas Ellison, this really is a last-ditch effort in order to improve on his time. He's currently P7 and a good length behind championship contender Giovanni Romano in P2 with the 1:37.3. Here comes Thomas around the final section. Let's see if he's got a good time here, David.
I believe this is an outlap, and he's hurrying to try and get to that line with 30 seconds remaining, hoping he'll be able to get one last lap as long as he crosses the start-finish line before the checkered flag is in the air. So that's maybe what he's attempting. Meanwhile, Giovanni Romano did improve not too long ago, put him just a couple tenths shy of Evan Merrill, but wasn't enough to usurp the young man's grip on pole position.
I'm currently following along with P4 John Patrick. He is on a final lap here, trying to improve against Nate Franklin, where he is just under a tenth behind. Let's see if John Patrick can put some time on P3 Nate Franklin. This is the clouds just rolled in. David, going to get a nice little shady track here for this lap for John Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. Partly cloudy, so the clouds have moved across in front of the sun. That drops the track temperature, can increase the grip out there. So anyone who's out on a flying lap might get the benefit of that.
All right, John Patrick getting ready to come across here. Did he improve on his last lap, and can he steal P3 from Nate Franklin? No, he cannot do it. That lap was unfortunately a full second slower, so John Patrick will lock himself in P4 for this race.
Tom Ellison was pushing very, very hard on that lap, and he has gone into the wall trying to figure out where that was. That was right towards the end of the lap, turn 13, turn 14. So I think that just about wraps up everyone who was still out there trying to set a lap, with the exception of Andrew, inverted commas, Leaky Fawcett, who I think is still out there. Have a look at what he's doing in the number 94 car.
David Justin Hall is also just now coming across. Justin Hall is going to try to improve on his P6. And David, he has done it, but by 1/10, he will remain in P6 behind Alec Klink.
So by the slimmest of margins, improving his lap time, but not managing to improve his position. Does indeed wrap up everyone who is out on track. We'll have to just wait the remaining 25 seconds of this session till we tick over into the race, and then we'll give you our official starting order. 18 cars for this race. That's not a bad grid for what will be a 45-minute race, and we are expecting pit stops for fuel, Aaron.
We absolutely are, and we'll be keeping an eye on what our estimations are for that. David, let's take a quick moment to talk about these Skip Barber cars. Like, these are cars that are not a lot of downforce friendly here. It's you got some wings on there, but they're pretty much pieces of paper on the front of the car and on the rear of the car. So those wings are almost cosmetic, I would say. You are driving this car with the gas pedal, and you're driving it even more so with the brake pedal in order to get it to do what you want it to do.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly a car that you turn through the corners by how you lift off the throttle, how you control the balance of the lift off oversteer and on throttle understeer. So we'll run down that starting order now. So on pole position, it's Evan Merrill. Behind him will be championship leader, looking to cement that championship here in the final round, Giovanni Romano from Canada. Third place is Nate Franklin, and fourth, John Patrick. Fifth, Alex Klink. Sixth is Justin Hall from Florida. Seventh, Devin Peters, another Canadian in the field. Eighth, Tom Ellison, who's going to need a lot of luck and a very good race from eighth on the grid to be able to grab what would be his first Reddit iRacing League championship if he could do that. Ninth place, Jordan Babcock. 10th is Daniel Bartz. 11th is Andrew Leaky Fawcett. 12th is Antonio Alvarez. 13th is Rob Hopp, who we didn't speak a whole lot about. 14th, Brian Beeman, also on the grid. 15th, Hunter Reeve. 16th, Christopher Flamian. 17th, the Minnesota Menace, Ryan Verhulst. And 18th is Joseph Fianiek. Trying to figure out if all of these cars will take to the grid. We're just waiting. They go in gear, they rev, and we are going to get away racing now. Evan Merrill gets a good jump. Giovanni Romano away pretty cleanly. They're fanning out towards the back because someone's not gotten away well, and that's Alexander Klink. So he's dropped right down the order, but through turn one they go. Almost everyone clean. Tom Ellison nearly has a spin into the side of Justin Hall. Right off the bat, Tom trying to gain some positions. Still leading, Evan Merrill from Giovanni Romano. But yeah, big positions lost by Alex Klink, and I don't think, and Devin Peters potentially, and doesn't look like Rob Hopp took to the grid.
Yeah,
So
David,
Tom
that was
Ellison,
a very... Yeah, David, that was a very interesting start that we almost had two cars. It looks like they stalled on the grid. These cars do have an anti-stall, so I'm not quite sure what happened to two of those cars that just didn't go.
Taking advantage of all of that's Tom Ellison, who's already up 3 spots into 5th. And he's looking... Well, he was looking at the back of Nate Franklin into turn 7, but now Nate's pulled a tiny gap, and it's... Tom Ellison's looking at the back of John Patrick. Justin Hall looks on from behind that. Up the front, Evan Merrill continuing to build a little bit of a gap over Giovanni, who's not gotten the strongest of runs through turn 13. It's now going through this corner of a million lines like Sunset Bend, as that's Tom Ellison trying to make a move around the outside of the final corner on John Patrick, and Tom is right out in the grass. He might lose out to Justin Hall as well. Justin Hall's closing in, going to look to the inside of turn 1. He backs out of it relatively wisely, I would say, as JP gets a huge slide on as well, grabs some grass. He's now holding the inside, though, from Tom Ellison, Aaron.
Tom Ellison is driving for his life right now. He has gone up positions, he's gone down positions, he's been in the grass, he's left all 4 wheels off the ground. He is all over the place, and he's looking to make another pass into the middle sector here.
Yeah, that's not a bad overtaking spot into that hairpin of turn 5. If you can get a good run into there, absolutely one of the better overtaking spots, because plenty of other places we see, like where John Patrick's going now into turn 7, the inside becomes the outside, becomes the inside, and Tom Ellison just has to back out of that one. John Patrick had just enough overlap, JP from Texas, getting that move back and doing no favors to Tom Ellison's championship challenge, but why should he?
I don't think you should either. And David, we got to watch out for this these top 3 here. Evan Merrill, Giovanni Romano, and Nate Franklin, they are really pulling away here. I don't think they're really even using draft. These are just 3 very quick drivers today.
Yeah, Evan Merrill nearly pulling a second over Giovanni Romano, but not yet. And holding on to that purple 99 car is the rather Jordan F1 looking number 24 of Nate Franklin. But then this battle between JP, between Thomas Ellison, between Justin Hall, and even Daniel Bartz, Antonio Alvarez back there as well. So these guys are sticking right together. Have a look at what Antonio has managed. He's up 4 spots from where he qualified. The perennial poor qualifier but strong racer is our Central American. So he's running out of 8th place there, putting the pressure on Daniel Bartz, who's sticking with Justin Hall, but pressure is absolutely on Dan Bartz into turn 5. Antonio Alvarez looking to get his Skippy past.
And David, Thomas has finally done it on John Patrick. He has made a pass to get into the middle circuit where he done before. And I just heard that John Patrick did a quick lift. So John Patrick had another run on Tom Ellison, thought better of it. So I think he's going to let him keep that position and maybe take a quick cool down, because both these guys are going extremely hard for just the first 5 minutes of this race.
Yeah, precisely. 45 minutes of racing is a pretty long race for one of these Skip Barber cars, and because we're expecting a pit stop, you know, what they gain here fighting on track, they could lose later in a pit stop potentially. They're just losing time to the guys ahead by fighting too hard out on track, as Evan Merrill is going to cement his lead, setting a very quick lap right now. Tom Ellison, John Patrick, Justin Hall, Daniel Bartz, 4th through to 7th. This is our strongest battle pack, I reckon.
No, it definitely is the strongest battle pack, and as the entire field goes over the front stretch here, David, I just got a call down from pit wall, and unfortunately, Devin Peters and Rob Hopp have climbed out of the car, and it looks like they are done for the day.
Yeah, so I think Rob Hopp not taking the start, and Devin Peters having some kind of issue that has forced his retirement. So 16 cars still out there and circulating.
Oh, David, we have a big incident here. Chris Flamion into turn 1 with a really, really bad old tank slapper. He got way sideways and gave it a whip and just a big old slide into the sand trap. So great save by Chris Flamion. But, David, it looks like turn 1 has taken its first victim, Chris Flamion.
Yeah, the way the circuit drops away there in turn 1, if you lift out of the throttle very quickly and you combine the lift-off oversteer with the descent of the initial part of that corner, can put you into a massive amount of oversteer. And that's what Chris Flamion had, it looks like. He's managed to avoid contact with any other cars, contact with any walls, and he's off once again in turn 7. So Chris Flamion having a rough old time of it right now, but his car still looks in relatively good condition. His race isn't over.
Yeah, it is not over, and he's found himself a racing buddy, Jay Sofignac, who also just outside of turn 1, David, had just a big old drift. I think if we were in a different simulator, that may have been fun, but not for Jay Sofianek. So he's got himself a driving partner. These two guys are drifting all over the place.
Yep, sun is out. It's getting a little bit later in the day. The track is heating up. Typically, we talk Fahrenheit units here. I'm not sure what we've got. Maybe it's 4 or 5 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than it was at the end of qualifying right now. So conditions are a little bit slipperier, and if the track keeps heating up, that will continue to be the case. Tom Ellison has not been able to shake John Patrick. He's still right there and still behind them. They get very close in the braking to turn 5. Behind them is still Justin Hall, Daniel Bartz, and Antonio Alvarez joining the train, but Nate Franklin has dropped away from Giovanni Romano. He was threatening for second place. And now Tom Ellison's caught him up a matter of 9/10 of a second on the last lap, and Justin Hall goes, I think, all 4 wheels off the circuit in turn 7B that time by, so he might have a slowdown. And I think indeed he does. He relinquishes the position to Daniel Bartz, and Antonio Alvarez also will sneak his way through, and Justin Hall will go to the back of this train.
Yeah, David, that's a really unfortunate slowdown for him. He was extremely competitive. He was actually quicker than 2 of the cars in front of him. So that's an unfortunate mistake for Justin Hall. Hopefully he can get himself back in line and maybe take advantage of getting some draft behind some of these slower cars and pulling himself back up to those cars where I think he deserves to be.
Yeah, so certainly pretty evenly matched, and the draft situation not allowing the packs to specifically separate so much. Another pack forming up deeper in the field. Jordan Babcock is leading Hunter Reeve, who's going to look to the inside of turn 2. Hunter Reeve a little bit ambitious. He gets quite a slide on 2, 3, 4 takes, and he's going to lose out to Alex Klenk, I think, who goes to the inside over the crest, flat out in these cars, and he'll lead into turn 5. So just shows you can bite off more than you can chew in these cars, because they don't have a whole lot of grip, and you can get suckered into carrying a bit too much speed.
Yeah, that's a fantastic move. And David, we unfortunately have also a car in the pits due to a fast repair issue. Ryan Verhulst had an incident in one of the middle sectors and had too much suspension damage and had to take a tow. So Ryan Verhulst, running inside the top 10, is now in the pits taking a tow and probably some fast repairs. David, hopefully he can get back out there.
Yep, it's certainly true. And strong qualifying Nate Franklin is now being hunted down by Tom Ellison, up 4 positions from where he started, now taking a very, very strong look as both of them run all 4 wheels off the track. So does John Patrick behind, but Nate Franklin, the biggest loser there. So Tom Ellison is up into 3rd position, and now Nate Franklin is going to have to fight to hold 4th from JP, John Patrick from Texas, who gets a good run out of the final corner. Nate Franklin might be under pressure into turn 1 here, Aaron.
I think he might too. Nate Franklin got way wide there in a big old save. Nate Franklin had a little bit of dirty tires, get those things cleaned off. But David, we are both keeping a very close eye on Tom Ellison, and we've said it before. You got to wonder who's under the helmet, David, and I think it's come early that Thomas Rapido Ellison is behind the wheel right now, and he is hunting down Giovanni Romano, which he absolutely has to do in this race.
Yeah, precisely. The gap between them, just over 2 seconds from Tom Ellison to Giovanni Romano. Still 35 minutes of racing and potentially a pit stop. There's no quote-unquote mandated pit stop, but there is, I believe, and I'll look this one up so I can be certain for you, but a fuel tank restriction that would seek to create a mandatory pit stop. Aaron, you take it away while I do the digging on that one.
David, you know I love it when you do some hard math on live streaming television. I'm keeping a close eye on this battle between Thomas Ellison, Nate Franklin, and John Patrick battling out for P3, P4, and P4. Oh, and John Patrick goes way too deep into that sector right there. And unfortunately, Nate Franklin again is struck out by that difficult sector. Nate Franklin is losing a lot of time to Tom Ellison. Tom Ellison has put almost a second on him just on this last lap. And Nate Franklin, another drift. I really think he may have overheated these rear tires. John Patrick, I think if he plays it cool, he may be able to just wait for Nate Franklin to make a mistake. We don't want to see that, but Nate's really, really struggling out there. But this pack here between 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way almost to P9, these guys are all within about 2.5 seconds of each other. So this is some very, very good racing. And David, how's your math coming over there?
Well, I did the digging, and it is an open setup race, but with a 65% fuel tank restriction. So that could force a splash and dash at some point for these drivers. So I'm looking at this gap, Tom Ellison to Giovanni Romano. And while it's not the close battles that we've got out there, it's very, very important. And on the last couple laps, Tom Ellison's been chipping away at that. It's down from 2 seconds. Well, it was down from 2 seconds to about 1.5. Now it comes back out again to around 2. But Giovanni Romano doesn't have a whole lot of breathing room there. And he's lost his draft buddy of Evan Merrill. So Tom Ellison is dragging Nate Franklin along, is pulling John Patrick along, and not far behind them is that other pack. Whoa, as JP goes for a big moment, and he'll lose, and so does Nate Franklin. So everyone exploring all of the grass here at beautiful manicured Barber Motorsports Park. So that brings Nate Franklin right back to John Patrick, who's got Daniel Bartz right behind. Antonio Alvarez there, he's up 5 positions. So as things stand right now, with a lot of racing still to go, equal Dickens Cider Hard Charger recipient with Tom Ellison. Justin Hall's holding on to the back of that one. But behind them, young Alex Klenk from Virginia is our fastest car out on circuit, a 1 minute 37.5 last time by, doing everything he can to catch up to this pack of third on downwards.
Yeah, Klink has got a lot of work to do. He is by himself. But David, in that last sector there where we pretty much saw this entire pack go off, guess who didn't go off? Antonio Alvarez, who you mentioned is the pretty much champion of the Dickens Cider Hard Charge of the race. And David, he is in peak position for someone to make a mistake up here. But I am continuing to be very worried that Nate Franklin is driving over his head at this point. We both know that Nate is a very consistent, a very strong driver, but he is really, really struggling this race. And I'm really worried that if he's going to have an incident, this car likes to tank slap, and he's going to take out 4 cars that are really close behind him. And we really don't want to see that in this final race this season, David. But Nate Franklin's driving a little over himself right now. He needs to cool down.
Yeah, it's an open setup, so he could have something of rear camber, rear tire pressures, all of that that could make it just a little bit more squirrely at the rear. He's toned it down a little bit. He's closed up tiny bit to Tom Ellison, pulled a tiny gap over JP, who has Dan Bartz right there still. And Antonio Alvarez watches on sagely. JP could consider a move into turn 1. He's right there, decides against it. So he lifts out a little bit early, tries to just set the car up balanced and stable into turn 1, then manages to close that gap up again into turn 2. Meanwhile, the fastest car out on the circuit is Evan Merrill, now pulling a 3.5 second gap over Giovanni Romano. Still leads just 2 seconds over Tom Ellison. All of that could change with a pit stop. 2 seconds is not a lot of time to lose or gain through a pit cycle.
That is absolutely not, and there's plenty of opportunity in this track. We've seen a few cars making
has gone wide in turn 5, and Antonio Alvarez is through. So that is now 6 positions gained for Antonio Alvarez. That is makes him the standout hard charger as it is right now. I'm sure he'll have his head down looking at JP. And a problem for Evan Merrill. What's happening to him? He's dropping down my timing screen. I don't see him on track. Potentially, nope. not connection issues. He has binned that car out of turn 8.
Yeah, David, I'm watching the replay as well. I fear this is a hardware issue because he came out of the corner and just drove straight into the wall. We have seen this happen to Evan Merrill a few times this season, David, and I think it has happened again. Absolute heartbreak, just like you said. He had a massive lead. This race was over, but my gosh, it is right back in it. And guess who that puts in P1? Giovanni Romano, and in P2, Thomas Ellison.
So they are first and second on track as they are in our championship standings. I said it, that's heartbreak for Evan Merrill, who was doing a fantastic job leading from pole position, not making too many mistakes. It's now the one seat, one horned flying purple Skippy Eater of Giovanni Romano leading the way 2.4 seconds from Tom Ellison, who've gone past 1/3 of the way into this race. Tom Ellison cannot shake Nate Franklin, cannot shake John Patrick, has a little bit of a gap, but not much, over Antonio Alvarez. So second through to 7th, all very stacked together, and Alex Clank still closing in onto the back of that in 8th place. Have a look at a battle a little bit further down though. Give some love to 11th place Leaky Fawcett, who's pulled a little bit of a gap over Christopher Flamion, a little bit, who's got Brian Beeman right behind there. So there's really no top pack, mid pack tail enders. The mid pack really is all we've got.
That really is all we've got, and David, I'm gonna surprise you. Nate Franklin and John Patrick have gone wide in the grass in the final sector. Again, they both have saved it. Everybody is fine, but I think Barber Motorsports Park needs to consider paving that, because these drivers just don't seem to think the track is wide enough there.
Yeah, so we have that turn 11, it's like a little left-hander, and then the turn 12 and turn 13. That's the ones where we keep seeing these drivers extending the track, because you can't see where the exit of the corner is until you're on it. It's blind over the top of the crest, and it's so tempting to carry too much speed through there. It's a very easy mistake to make, and it's a very technical course.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel Bartz is getting himself back up here. I will hand it to Thomas Ellison, Nate Franklin, and John Patrick, our P2, P3, P4 guys. They are being very smart with a lot of their pacing, not doing a lot of side-by-side, because they are really keeping themselves away from Antonio Alvarez and Daniel Bartz, because you battle like that on this track. This is a very tight track in some of these sectors, so they're being very smart with their racing. Otherwise, they could have really caught them pretty quick, but it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. Just as I say that, John Patrick gets a great run on Nate Franklin.
Yeah, he doesn't quite manage to do anything with it through turns 9 and 10, which could well be near flat-out corners in a car like this. Definitely not in a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And they come to this turn 11, turn 12, this right-hander, where they've had all manner of problems, and it's John Patrick getting all 4 wheels off the track, and Antonio Alvarez getting a big slide, but he manages to make that work, not to his advantage, but not to his disadvantage either. Both of them set up how they're going to come out of the final corner. Near flat, Tom Ellison cannot pull away from Nate Franklin. Let's close it up a little bit from JP, John Patrick, who can't do anything through turn 1.
David, these guys are not going anywhere too fast. I've popped back to P9 and P10. Kudos to Jordan Babcock, who is our resident oval driver, who's done it. Oh, David, we have an incident with a car in front here. Jordan Babcock is having to avoid somebody. David, who is that?
I think that might be Daniel Bartz. I don't know why he's going so slow, but this is for position. He has dropped that position to Jordan Babcock, and Hunter Reeve, I think, not made his way past Jordan Babcock, but had to defend through turn 1. So they come towards turn 5. Hunter Reeves a bit wide of the apex, so I think Babcock will pick the throttle up a bit earlier, and they'll go side by side towards turn 7. But Hunter Reeves has the inside, he has the high ground. It's over Babcock, but Daniel Bartz is right behind, so can't lift off too much, can Jordan Babcock.
Yeah, Daniel Bartz was up in our lead pack there. I think he was either P6 or P7, but guess where he got snake bit? Turn 1. Just off throttle oversteer and just couldn't save it. Thankfully, he was able to avoid the wall with just a big slide. And David, unfortunately, I think his opportunity for a P5 in this race is over.
It's shuffled him well down and into 10th position now. He's taking a good look at Jordan Babcock. So
we have Tom Ellison. Tom Ellison is in the pits. Tom Ellison is in the pits.
Yep, so from second place, Tom Ellison's come down onto pit lane. This might be... And Giovanni Romano is stopped out on track. Am I seeing that? He's going very slowly. He's had a spin out of the final corner. So intrigue and drama for what was first and second place. Giovanni Romano has gone for a spin. That's cost him a bulk of time. Get a replay on your screen. He's just held the throttle open through that final corner, 2 wheels into the grass, and that spun him around right as he's nearly tobogganed the thing on that little curb. No damage, but that will have cost him maybe 6, 7 or more seconds. And then at the same time as that happens, Tom Ellison was in the pit lane. He's taken pit service, 9 seconds of fuel. So an early pit call from Tom Ellison trying to get out of that pack he was in. I suspect when Giovanni Romano makes his pit service, that will make Tom Ellison the net leader, Aaron.
I think it will, and I am no pit crew, I am no pit manager, I am no nothing. But if I'm Giovanni Romano, I'm taking my pit right now, because this battle between Hunter Reeve, Jordan Babcock, and Daniel Barber, this is all for position, and these guys aren't slow. So I think Giovanni needs to just really back off right now, get his pit in, and stay away from these guys, because he's quicker than them. But any incident with these guys, and his race is done, David, and he has to finish above, I think we said P15 in order to claim the championship. So let's watch if he decides to take his pit. And no, David, he is staying out. I do not agree with this, but you know what? Giovanni knows how to drive. Oh, we have an incident here.
It's JP, isn't it? John Patrick has done exactly what... Sorry, Jordan Babcock has done nearly exactly what Giovanni Romano did the lap before. Getting a replay of how that happened, but pretty similar. Just trying to carry too much speed through the last corner. You keep the throttle in, you can toboggan it. You can ground the bottom of the car on that outside curb, and that's just spun him around, nose into the inside wall. Bit of damage on that. And what I was going to say is that Tom Ellison's pit call has triggered a lot of other guys to come down to the pit lane. So John Patrick, Antonio Alvarez, and Nate Franklin have all gone down pit road as well. Franklin managed to undercut Tom Ellison there, Aaron. So lots unfolding right now. We're in the middle of that pit stop sequence and waiting for that to shake out.
Yeah, we're definitely waiting for this to shake out. A lot going on here. Nate Franklin was a worthy competitor for Tom Ellison at the very beginning of this race. But, David, I still cannot believe that Giovanni did not take his pit stop. Like, as I was talking about it, a car in front of him spun, and that could have ended his race. David, I think he's playing a game of very, very risky chess right now, and I don't know if that's what he needs to be doing. But Giovanni knows what he's doing behind that wheel, David. That's why I'm up here and he's down there.
Yeah, exactly. I just couldn't quite see a way that Giovanni Romano was going to be able to get through that pack without losing a bunch of time. But now, Hunter Reeve comes into the pit lane from in front of him. Jordan Babcock went for a spin. Now it's just Daniel Bartz that Giovanni Romano has in front of him. So Justin Hall inherits the race lead because Alex Klenk comes down onto the pit lane. We've only got a few cars from the lead who haven't pitted now. Most everyone else deciding that we're just past halfway. Take the splash of fuel now, and about 8 or 9 seconds looks like the amount that they need.
That is correct, and Tom Ellison has reclaimed the position from Nate Franklin. So Tom Ellison is the fastest car on track that has taken a pit stop, and when these cycles follow through, Tom Ellison will maintain the lead after Giovanni made a mistake. So Giovanni is yet to pit, David. Where is he on track?
Giovanni Romano is about 11 seconds ahead of Tom Ellison, but still needing a pit service, which is about 30 seconds in the lane. Obviously, the delta is a little bit less than the total lane time because the pit exit's further down than where the pit entry is. But I'm imagining that when Giovanni Romano takes his service, he will come out somewhere around 10 seconds behind Tom Ellison, which would match up with how much time he lost to that spin. So Tom Ellison, your net race leader. See, do Justin Hall, does Daniel Bartz, does Giovanni Romano take to the pit lane? Justin Hall does from what was the race lead. Bartz will stay out, as will Giovanni Romano. So Daniel Bartz will inherit the race lead, but not net or de facto, but just on track before he takes his pit stop. He might be holding up Giovanni Romano a little bit. His last lap was a 38.9 to Tom Ellison's 37.7. So Giovanni Romano is not going quick out there. He maybe should have taken your advice and pitted earlier, because now he's held up a little bit by Daniel Bartz. He can't do anything into the turn 5 hairpin. He'll try and go around the outside, but that will not work. He's losing time, and he'll almost lose that position out on track before the pit stops. He's not careful, because Tom Ellison is clawing it back, only 10 seconds behind on track, and has taken his pit stop.
I am going to make a very wild assumption right now. I think Giovanni may be trying to feel safe, David. Giovanni keeps lifting every corner. He is riding Daniel Bartz. I don't think he's going to try and pass him at any point, but he is doing a lot of lifting going into the corners. Is it possible to no-stop this?
I mean, we can see that the pit stop times of everyone else who's taken service is 8 or 9 seconds of fuel. If they were taking, half a gallon to get to the end or less, maybe, but I don't see how Giovanni Romano could save 9 seconds of fuel. That would be a huge ask. And even if he can do that with 16 minutes to go, Tom Ellison has been closing him at a matter of seconds per lap. I don't quite see how it could be possible. And while he's doing that, he is being held up by Daniel Bartz, even if the draft is saving him a little bit of fuel.
Well, David, that's what I'm trying to make an assumption here. Is I'm following along with Giovanni. I'm in car with him, and he is lifting in the straightaways. He is lifting. I mean, even before some of the braking markers, he is making a strong effort to possibly no stop this. And you see, then, David, I am just perplexed by what Giovanni is trying to do here, but I can't fight him, because that incident, he needs to try and win here. David, has there been an incident with Thomas Ellison?
There has been an incident for Tom Ellison in turn 1, most recent time. I think we need to get a replay of that, because he was de facto the leader of the race, potentially trying to seal up that championship, and he's made a mistake all by himself into turn 1. He's just lifted off the throttle too aggressively into turn 1. That rear has come around through the descent there that induces some oversteer in these cars. That's cost him a whole bunch of time. We will see that replay.
Yeah, just snake bitten by that corner again. Like we've seen several other cars, you get a little loose on the off throttle oversteer, and it just snaps. As much as you want to crank that wheel to try and save it, it's just not possible sometimes. There are so many wrinkles for the championship right now. Thomas Ellison with a mistake. Giovanni, what we assume, is trying to one-stop. I am fascinated by what is going on here in terms of strategy.
Yeah, if this doesn't play out for Giovanni Romano, if he runs out of fuel on the last lap, that's the worst thing that could happen to him. So it's really hard to see how much time did Ellison lose in his spin compared to what Romano lost in his earlier spin. The time difference Romano back to Ellison is now 18 seconds. I think if Romano had to take a pit stop, Ellison would still come out comfortably ahead of him. But now Tom Ellison has all of these cars who have pitted in front of him. Nate Franklin, Alex Klent, Justin Hall, Antonio Alvarez, John Patrick, taking points away from him. The win is what Ellison needed to be able to grab that championship cup. And finishing ahead of Giovanni Romano is a goal, but if he isn't taking a lot of points out of him, then I can't be certain that he's going to grab the championship.
Yeah, I just don't know either, and I'm just looking at the mountain of effort Thomas Ellison has to make, even if he does catch up to John Patrick in front of him, which is currently 5.5 seconds. This pack is extremely tight, very quick, and very competitive, and they're not just going to let Tom Ellison through. So David, I am very excited to see what's going to happen with the remainder of this race with just over 13.5 minutes left.
Yeah, and we've got to give props to Nate Franklin, who's now the effective leader, on the assumption that
Tom
Daniel
Ellison is spun
Bartz
again. Tom Ellison is spun again, and he has hit the wall in the final sector, David. Thomas Ellison has hit the wall in the final sector, and he has hit the wall.
Catastrophe there for Tom Ellison, I guess. He's just... There must be steam underneath that helmet, because he was leading the race, and now 2 mistakes. The first one cost him a lot of time. That one may have rearranged his rear wing, his camber. In fact, he has towed. So from the lead, Tom Ellison's race has just fallen apart.
That was really difficult to see. I was riding along with him. He was driving extremely hard and just got a little overzealous in that final corner. It snapped around, and you're sliding on the grass, and there's not a lot of friction there, and made heavy contact with the right rear of that car, David.
Tom Ellison has left the circuit. He's done. So I have to say that I won't take the buzz out of the remainder of this race, but Giovanni Romano will effectively be your champion unless he also has a DNF. He's right up behind Daniel Bartz in what's 2nd place of the cars yet to take a pit stop, potentially trying to no-stop it. Behind them, Nate Franklin is 3rd place, catching them, has definitely fueled to the end. I've got to mention a great effort from Alex Klenk, who had a horrible start, dropping a long way back down the field. He's put his head down, worked hard. He might now be in effective 2nd place from Justin Hall, who has to contend with hard-charging Antonio Alvarez in what I'm still saying as 4th position. I'm not sure Daniel Bartz and Giovanni Romano can get to the end, as Romano has gotten past Bartz now. So not content to sit behind, try and save fuel. He's grabbed that position. He is your race leader, but does he have 8 more laps of fuel still in that car?
I really don't know if he does, but he may have checked his old leaderboard, and if he's got eyes on it, he may have seen that car number 27, his most important challenge of this race, is currently sitting in the drivers' club, possibly either having a drink or just sitting there and with steam coming out of his ears. I'm guessing probably the latter.
We'll go on board for 1 lap with Antonio Alvarez in 6th place, who's trying to hunt down Justin Hall. So, Antonio Alvarez riding on board with him. He's following in what's one of our closer battles, Justin Hall behind Alex Klenk. And we are still entirely undecided. Boy, oh boy, does Alvarez go deep on the brakes into turn 5 that time. So undecided. Can Giovanni Romano, can Daniel Bartz make this to the end with no stop? Aaron, we were talking about this. This car fuels very slowly, but still 8 seconds of fuel is potentially half So not half a gallon or more. That's a huge amount to save.
And I just don't know if it's possible. I rode around with Giovanni, and as I said, he was lifting in the straightaways. He was lifting before any of the braking markers. I mean, he was doing a ton of saving. But as you just described, I don't know if it's enough, especially running out in front now. David, he's using up all of the fuel. There is currently no fuel savings going on with the position he is in. Now, Daniel Bart's maybe reaping some of those rewards unless these guys have a plan that we didn't know about. Maybe they're going to leapfrog each other and save fuel to the end of the race and take it a 1-2. I don't know at this point, David. I am just blown away with what has happened in the last 5 minutes of this race.
Massive championship implications. And so, yeah, another car out there trying to make the no-stop work potentially is Jay Safianiak. He's in 8th position, so he's leading Leaky Fawcett, Christopher Flamion, Jordan Babcock, and Brian Beeman. Gosh, we'll have to keep an eye on some of these cars as we approach, the last lap, the second to last lap. Will they cough? Will they run out of fuel? Oh, is there enough left in that reduced fuel tank size? They're taking the gamble and really hoping it'll pay off. But as all that happens, Nate Franklin is catching Daniel Bartz, so I'm not sure if Giovanni Romano at this rate will be able to hold on to the lead, even if he does have enough fuel.
Yeah, I just don't know either. And as we continue to focus on this pack here, that we really feel if these top two do not last on fuel, which of these drivers, David, Alexander Klenk or Antonio Alvarez, who has the best chance of taking away the Dick Insider hard charger of the race with just 7 minutes left, because it's almost time to give it out?
Well, as things stand at the moment, it'd be Antonio Alvarez, but if Jay Safianiak does make it to the end on the fuel, then he is plus 10 positions right now. He would be our hard charger, but if he does need to take a pit stop, we go to Antonio Alvarez. But Dan Bart's also plus 8, so we won't know until the end who's in the best position to be that hard charger. I'm looking at Alex Klenk, though, because he had the fastest lap of the race until just then, when Justin Hall took it away with a 1 minute 37 dead, a 1 minute 37.000 to the smallest margins we've got, 137 flat. So the track heating up, but some quick times coming in. Justin Hall maybe at exactly the right distance to benefit from that draft. As we look at Nate Franklin get a little bit squirrely, he's almost right onto the back of Daniel Bartz. He's almost fallen back into this pack as there's 5 laps to go.
Yeah, these guys are really pushing. I am very impressed with Alexander Klenk's drive, as we kind of talked about. Gets very close to Nate Franklin there. Almost dropped a nose. But a heck of a drive by him. From what we saw at the very start of the race, to just the car flat out not going, to pulling himself to a very strong P4. And Nate Franklin had, I think last race as well, he had a record pit stop. Nate Franklin has the fastest pit stop of the race, which allowed him to jump Tom Ellison. So Nate Franklin, I think, has pulled it together after pretty sketchy beginning of the race. Oh, and Nate Franklin!
Oh, he's just managed to keep that out of the wall, but that's one of his favorite corners, to get plenty of the grass there in turn 12, the exit of turn 12. Nate Franklin shuffled down and loses out to Alex Klenk. The pressure getting to him. Luckily, no damage for Nate Franklin. He keeps on going. We'll get a look at how that happened, Aaron.
Yeah, right as I was giving him some kudos, Nate Franklin's favorite corner just gets a little too much curb, unsettles the car, runs a little too wide, and just man, that's a tough deal for Nate Franklin. Hopefully he can get it back and give himself a good finish, but he's been struggling all race, right as I was talking about him and making him feel good.
So we'll take a good look at Alex Klenk, who's monstering Dan Bartz, who is in fuel save mode, maximum save to get to the end. Alex Klenk's the quickest car out on the circuit right now. And he's going to have to make a move past Daniel Bartz very soon if he's going to have enough time left in the race to chase after Giovanni Romano. If Giovanni Romano has a splutter out of the final corner, Alex Klenk needs to be there if he wants to grab a race win. So he can't be held up by fuel-saving Daniel Bartz for too long. When they cross the start-finish stripe next time by, they'll have 3 laps to go. Alex Klenk goes to the inside. It's a little left-hand kink, feeds into a right-hander, but I think Dan Bartz has been clever, known where his battle is, and let that happen.
Yeah, and that lets him fall right into the potential hands of Justin Hall if Daniel Bartz is doing any sort of fuel saving, David, and Daniel Bartz has succumbed to the pit gods and is headed into pit lane with just 3 minutes left. That's unfortunate. Now, all eyes on Giovanni and how much is left in that tank.
Exactly. If Daniel Bartz thinks he can't do it with 3 laps to go, when will Giovanni Romano decide to pit, or will he just keep it out there and, take the risk of running out of fuel? If I'm him, if I've got good numbers and I think I can make it to the end on fuel, stay out there. But he does not need to take any risk with Tom Ellison out of this race.
Absolutely not, and I really think we are staring potentially at P1 and P2 right now with Alexander Klenk and Justin Hall. These guys have both raced very smart this race, both raced very well, had good pit stops. Justin Hall with a 6.8 second pit stop this race, so that is a smoking pit stop. Just fantastic racing with these guys, but I think all eyes are on Giovanni, and we may need to check the gas tank of that, or what's in that water bottle of his, because if he can do this, David, we will all be absolutely astounded.
Yeah, certainly you can save fuel by having good momentum through the corners, and Giovanni Romano had the advantage of a little bit of slipstream here and there, but not massive quantities, so he's going to have to put the clutch in, take higher gears, and lift so early if he's going to get that thing to the end. I've got my eyes on him right now. Does he dive to the pit lane this time? No, he stays out one more lap, so he's not following the Dan Bartz route and succumbing to the pit entrance. We'll take a look at what his time is as he crosses the line. So he is going maybe half a second per lap slower than the chasing pack behind him. So it's a 38.3 for Giovanni Romano, a 37.6 for Alex Klenk. 2 laps to go, and Alex Klenk, as it stands right now, is not taking enough speed out of Giovanni Romano to get there if Romano does have enough fuel.
Giovanni, if he makes it, he is an absolute master. I mean, I just rode with that last lap, David. He is lifting everywhere, and to your point, I think he's dropping clutch too, so I literally think he's disengaging the motor as much as he can. But is it sustainable for him to continue doing this? Because Alexander Klenk, he has fuel. He's quick. He doesn't need to do anything that Giovanni is currently doing right now. And I think Alexander Klenk just may be looking to make a pass on track at this point, because Giovanni just flat out does not have the car to push. And when I say the car, the go-go juice.
Yeah, exactly. Romano's now the only car still out there not to have gone down the pit lane, because Jay Safirniak has just succumbed to that as well. With 2 laps to go, he's figured he does not have enough. Next time, the white flag will wave for Giovanni Romano, and he's hoping that that motor, that fuel tank, that fuel pump doesn't wave the white flag, doesn't give up on him, because there is 35 seconds left on the clock. Romano will pass the start-finish line with just a little bit of time left on the clock, so the white flag waves for Giovanni Romano. The gap behind 2.5 seconds. Alex Klenk leads Justin Hall. Take a quick look at a battle for 10th place. Jordan Babcock is trying to hold off Brian Beeman. We'll take a quick look at that, give them some love, but up the front is what we'll have to focus on after that. So so Brian Beeman lost half a second on the last lap to Jordan Babcock. So eyes back on Romano, because does he have enough left in that? If that car coughs, if that car splutters, Alex Klenk is as close as he's ever been, 2.4 seconds behind, and Justin Hall right there as well, ready to swallow up a Skip Barber that doesn't have enough fuel.
Yeah, I'm riding with him right now. He is coasting down this entire section. He's still coasting, still no gas, still no gas. Now he's on the gas. David, I am absolutely astounded by what Giovanni is about to accomplish today, but I think we're all listening to the engine sounds. If there's a hint of a sputter, Alexander Klink and Justin Hall are right there to pounce. But David, I think he might do it.
Yep, so Giovanni Romano came into this, the final round, as the points leader, 295 points on the board to 291 to Tom Ellison. Tom Ellison has cracked under that pressure, crashed out of this race, but with just a couple of corners to go, now into the penultimate corner, Giovanni Romano goes 2-second lead. He comes through the final corner. He opens up the throttle. Does he have enough to get to the checkered flag? He does. He's the winner of this race. He is the winner of Reddit iRacing League Season 23. Grabbing second place, Alex Klenk just holds off Justin Hall, who was the fastest car out on that lap. And one of our hard chargers, Antonio Alvarez, is up 8 spots. He grabs 4th position. And Nate Franklin will have 5th, but Hunter Reeve, fantastic job from him, is up 9 spots. He will grab 6th place. And wow, Aaron, actually, we'll take a look at Jordan Babcock and Brian Beeman because that battle still continues. Babcock has the lead over Beeman. He just needs to not make any mistakes through this final sector. That's through turn 11 goes Babcock, through turn 12. The tricky corner that's catch caught a lot of people out. So easy to grab the grass on the exit. Jordan Babcock doesn't succumb to that. He takes turn 13 with a big slide, but he does get to the apex of turn 14. He'll come through turn 15 and hold off Brian Beeman for 10th or 11th place. That's 10th place. So Babcock and Beeman, the last cars on the lead lap, I think, finish 10th and 11th. And Aaron, what a race.
That was a truly fantastic race to watch, and I feel like at this point I predicted nothing. I had no idea how this was going to end, and we were given that race today, David, and that was a truly spectacular way to win the race, and more so win the championship by Giovanni Romano. What a drive. Truly spectacular. And I think we're all just devastated to see what happened to Tom Ellison. We were expecting a fantastic race today. I think we saw that. Just a few small mistakes by Tom Ellison that had, unfortunately, big ramifications.
Yeah, exactly. This race had a little bit of everything. It had wheel-to-wheel battles. It had a little bit of slipstreaming. It had fuel saving. It had championship implications. And it also had plenty of pit strategy. And the winner of all of that, Giovanni Romano. So we'll go down our official race results now. Giovanni Romano, your winner by just over 2 seconds, holding off an absolutely charging Alex Klenk and Justin Hall in 3rd place. 4th goes to Antonio Alvarez. 5th goes to Nate Franklin. Our Dick Insider hard charger of the race is 6th place Hunter Reeve. 7th, Daniel Bartz. 8th, Leaky Fawcett. 9th, Christopher Flamion. 10th, that battle we had a quick look at, Jordan Babcock holds off Brian Beeman for 11th. The last car on the lead lap, Sophia Nyek, another one to try that fuel save strategy, couldn't make it work, pitting with 2 laps to go. And then 1 lap down is Ryan Verhulst. 8 laps off the lead, John Patrick. And our retirements, Tom Ellison, Evan Merrill, Devin Peters, and Rob Hopp, I think, not taking the start of the race. And Aaron, maybe you'll have a look and see if you can grab any of those people who might want to have a word with us. In fact, I had... Yep, so we'll try and grab our championship winner. And we've got him, Giovanni Romano. Tell us about not just the championship, but we'll start with the race. From what point in this race did you decide you were going to try that no-stop strategy?
Before the race started, because I had to start saving fuel on lap 1 in order to make it work. And I saved every lap until the last lap when I knew I had enough fuel, so I pushed a little bit more in the last lap.
And in the end, just 2 seconds clear of Alex Klenk, but without that little spin that you had, it would have been a much more commanding race.
Yeah, the spin definitely made it a lot more interesting. It was really coming close down to the end there, and I think a couple guys behind me had trouble too. So if they didn't, I think they would have been right on my bumper at the end there.
And sun came out for us here at Barber Motorsports Park. Track heated up a little bit. Did you feel that at all with the different track temperature through the race?
Not really, because when I'm saving fuel, I'm coasting into the corners, so it's really easy to set the corner up. So I didn't really have much issues with that.
Right. Well, as a Reddit iRacing League Season 23 champion, any words to that?
Oh, it's pretty nice. I get my name there on the subreddit sidebar. That's awesome.
That's, I guess that's its own reward. And just sum up, I guess, your season as a whole and your championship, because it just seemed like every race you were there or thereabouts, even when you weren't taking wins.
I think it was a really good battle between me and Tom there. The entire season came down to the last race. It's unfortunate that Tom couldn't finish the race because I think it would have been an on-track battle at the end there. But yeah, it was a fun season. I really enjoyed it. I'll be back next season for sure.
I guess just to wrap it up then, any thanks?
Again, to the admins for hosting it. It's all been really fun. And to you guys for broadcasting. The broadcast is really fun to watch afterwards, and the interviews are fun too.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Well, that is not just our race winner, but our Reddit iRacing League champion. We've got waiting around our second and third place finishers. So let's see if we can grab Alex Klenk and have a word with him. So we've got second place finishing Alex Klenk, and Klenky, you really had a chance of grabbing that race win, but Giovanni Romano just managed to make that fuel saving work.
Yeah, I was really impressed by it. They made it all the way and keeping the pace. Saw Bart's trying to do it, but it slowed him a lot more, so well done.
And you held off Justin Hall in what was a really good battle there. Is this a fun or a stressful combination of the Skip Barber Formula 2000 around the titular Barber Motorsports Park?
It's a lot of fun. Towards the end, it was also definitely getting stressful. I had a lot of fun at the start when I had to pass everyone again after my lack of start, but it's definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, and tell us, what was your issue there at the start? Because we saw you drop down the order quite significantly, and you did do a good job to recover to second place.
Yeah, so I noticed during practice that I didn't have the clutch pedal bound. So I just thought, I'll just start in neutral, rev it up, and pop it into first, like you can do in a lot of cars at the start, but it didn't want to go, so I had to let off the gas fully, put it in gear, and then go.
A rather costly mistake there, I suppose. But is second place a good way to wrap up your Reddit iRacing League Season 23?
Yeah, definitely. I haven't been able to do all the races and be part of the championship, so falling to the back and being able to battle my way through to a second place was really satisfying. If I had been in the season more, maybe losing the win would have been more annoying, but I think I had a great race.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you on a very spirited fight back through the field. Any thanks, any shout-outs?
Just thanks to the RiL mods for another great season. Like I said, I haven't been able to be part of this as much as I wanted to, but watching, on the subreddit, seeing everyone having a great time looks like another great season. So props to.
Awesome. Well, congratulations once again. Feels like the third time I've said it. Thank you for coming in, having a word with us, and hopefully we'll see you for some races next season. See if we can grab that third place finisher, Justin Hall, and we'll bring him in, and Aaron Thacker, take it away.
Alcock Terriers number one.
Justin Hall, welcome to the podium booth here, sir. Congratulations on your P3. Talk about your drive today.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's
really practiced a lot with the Skippy, and just happy that it seemed to all paid off. I knew early on that Tom was on ahead of steam, so I just kind of let him through and just tried to stay behind and get in the draft. And then, jumped Clank on one of the pits, but he was able to pass me back, and just kind of tried to keep it together. And pretty happy.
Yeah, talk about the pack driving at this track and with these cars. I mean, you and Antonio and Nate and Bart, I mean, you guys were all together pretty much the entire race. What does it feel like on a track like this and in a car where there's not a lot of downforce? Is it a help or does it really unstable the car?
Yeah, no, I don't feel like there's much aero push on the car, but it was definitely nerve-wracking driving that closely with everyone. When JP was taking Tom wide early on, I was definitely afraid that there was going to be some contact. Luckily, everyone got through that cleanly. But when Clank got by me, he has a different breaking point on the hairpin, so I was pretty scared I was going to kill him on one of those laps. But was able to keep it together, and then just watching Antonio, he was right on my back, and so I'm not sure what happened to him, but kind of happy about it because I was getting kind of nervous.
Yeah, well, we really enjoyed the battle up in the broadcast booth. Justin, congratulations on your P3 today. Any shout-outs or congrats to anybody else in the group?
Yeah, thanks, man. Got to give credit to my teammate, Jordan Babcock, and Hall Cox Harriers. I'm not sure where we finished up, but, I think we had a pretty strong finish here. And, of course, shout-out to you guys and Team Huge Ass, Thanks again for streaming all the races and, really adds a big fun factor to these things. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
And thank you, Justin. We will hopefully see you next season in season 24 of the Reddit iRacing League. David, back to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Aaron. Well done. And exactly, thank you for tuning in to our coverage of Reddit iRacing League season 23. This league does take a little break, and I believe we'll be back after Christmas, potentially in the new year. So until then, I guess it's Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and make sure to subscribe to us here at Huge Ass Broadcasting Corporation, because in the new year, we are going to be bringing you a lot more coverage, not just of the Reddit iRacing League, but of some other things coming up, as well as our Champ Car Endurance Series coverage and Champ Car Endurance Sim Series coverage. So plenty of things planned for the new year, and you will catch them all here with HJBC. I've been David Haynes. Alongside me has been Aaron Thacker and our fantastic director, Michael Derby, bringing us all the action, bringing us some fantastic replays as well. He's been our producer all season long, so big credits to him for making all of this possible as well. We have to say good night.